All right. Are you ready to dive into some really fascinating stuff?
I am.
You've sent us a ton of material about the nervous system, pain, and how our bodies, make sense of all these sensations. So we're
Yeah.
going to unpack it all together.
Okay.
And I have to say, some of this stuff has even my head spinning, especially when one of the sources claims that pain doesn't even exist.
Oh, wow.
Like, what is that all about?
Yeah,
Luckily, I've got an expert here with us who can help break it all down and make sense of it.
absolutely.
So are you in?
Let's do it. I'm fired up about this stuff.
Okay, cool. So you sent in a bunch of articles, research, and honestly, some of the questions it raises are just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
For example, what does it even mean when nerves short circuit? And then there's this whole thing about this special kind of fat that's super important for keeping our nerves healthy.
Right.
And hint, it's not the kind you're probably thinking of.
Okay.
But before we get to all that, let's start with the nervous system itself. We usually think about the brain when we hear nervous system, but it's way more than that, right?
It is way more than that.
So,
Yeah, the nervous system is like this massive communication network that reaches every single corner of your body.
Okay.
Your brain is the control center. But it really relies on this intricate web of nerves that act like communication lines, constantly sending messages back and forth.
so that tingling you get in your fingers or that ache in your toes, those are messages being sent from your body back to your brain.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah. And the source uses this really great analogy. It says that the brain is like a tree.
Hmm.
Its roots extending down the spinal cord and branching out to every corner of your body. So the sensations you feel, there's signals being sent from those far-reaching branches all the way back to headquarters, your brain.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture here. It's all connected.
Yeah.
This makes me think about that mystery ingredient for healthy nerves. Myelin.
Yes.
What is that exactly, and why should we care?
Well, myelin is like the insulation around electrical wires.
Okay.
But for your nerves, so it's this fatty sheath that helps ensure that the electrical signals are transmitted quickly and clearly.
Hmm.
When the myelin breaks down, though, those signals get disrupted
Yeah.
and things can go haywire.
So if myelin is like insulation, does that mean damaged myelin is like a frayed electrical wire?
That's a perfect analogy.
Okay.
And just like a frayed wire can cause problems with your electrical system at home, damaged myelin can lead to all sorts of issues.
Like what?
Well, you might experience pain, weakness, numbness, or even problems with coordination and balance.
Wow, that's pretty serious.
Yeah.
The research that you sent in mentioned some pretty heavy-hitting conditions like multiple sclerosis and diabetic neuropathy,
Right.
both of which are linked to myelin damage.
Yeah, when that myelin is damaged, it's like trying to stream a movie on dial-up.
Mm.
Things just slow down, get fuzzy, and they don't work as well.
So healthy myelin is like having super fast internet for your nervous system.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
You need it to function properly.
Exactly.
All right, so we've got our nervous system sending signals all over the place, and myelin is there to make sure those signals are clear.
Right.
But what about pain?
Yeah.
That's what a lot of the research you sent in is focused on, and honestly, it's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah,
The source material really challenges the way most of us think about pain.
it does.
It claims pain isn't simply a physical sensation.
That's right.
Huh.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
One of the key takeaways from this research is that pain is actually an interpretation that happens in the brain.
Hold on. Are you saying that pain isn't real? That sounds crazy.
No. Of course, pain is a very real experience.
Okay.
But it's not just a direct response to tissue damage. Think of it this way.
Okay.
Your body sends signals to the brain through those nerve pathways we were just talking about.
Right.
But it's the brain that ultimately decides whether to interpret those signals as pain.
So my brain is deciding whether something hurts.
In a way, yes.
But what about when I say touch a hot stove? That pain is instant. It doesn't feel like my brain is taking time to analyze the situation.
That's a great question, and it brings up a really important point.
Okay.
There are different types of pain pathways.
Okay.
Some are very fast, like the reflex that makes you pull your hand away from a hot stove, you know?
Right.
That's your body's way of protecting you from immediate danger. But other types of pain, especially chronic pain, are more complex and involve more the brain's interpretation.
So my brain is like a judge in a courtroom weighing the evidence from my body before making a decision on whether to feel pain or not.
Kind of, yeah.
Wow.
The brain considers the signals coming from your body, but it also takes into account past experiences, emotions, beliefs, and even the context of the situation.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it also explains why sometimes pain can linger even after an injury has healed. The
Exactly.
brain is still interpreting those signals as pain, even though the original cause is gone.
Exactly. And here's another fascinating tidbit from the research. The brain itself doesn't have nociceptors.
Gnosis up what now? Oh,
Nociceptors.
okay.
They're those specialized sensory receptors in your body that detect potentially harmful stimuli, things like heat, cold pressure, or chemicals.
Mm.
But here's the kicker. Your brain, which decides whether you feel pain, doesn't have any of these pain receptors itself.
So the part of me that decides whether something hurts can't actually feel pain, that seems a bit ironic.
It is ironic, and it highlights just how complex and subjective pain really is. It's not a simple one-to-one relationship between tissue damage and pain sensation.
Okay, so let's say the brain is receiving these pain signals. Why doesn't all pain go away on its own? What causes some pain to stick around and become chronic?
That's a question a lot of people are trying to answer.
Right.
And the research points to three major culprits: nerve damage to the brain's interpretation, which we've already touched on,
Right.
and oxygen deprivation.
Wait, oxygen deprivation? That sounds a bit scary.
It can be.
How does a lack of oxygen lead to pain?
Well, nerves, just like any other cell in your body, need oxygen to survive and function properly. If blood flow to a nerve is restricted, or if there's inflammation that's messing with oxygen delivery, the nerves can become damaged.
So it's like the nerves are suffocating.
In a sense, yes, and that damage can lead to pain, numbness, tingling, and weakness.
This ties into what the research says about metabolic health and inflammation, right?
Yes.
If your body is in a constant state of inflammation, it's going to affect your nerves too.
That's right. And this is why things like diet, exercise, sleep, and stress management, all of these things that contribute to overall health are so important for your nerves as well.
So it's not just about treating the symptoms, it's about addressing the root cause,
Exactly.
whether it's inflammation, nerve damage, or something else.
That's right.
Speaking of treatment, the research mentions some alternative therapies that I'd love to get your take on.
Okay.
What's this about myofascial therapy?
Myofascial therapy is a hands-on therapy that focuses on releasing tension in the fascia.
Remind me what's fascia again.
Fascia is this incredibly strong connective tissue that surrounds your muscles, organs, and nerves. Think of it like a web that holds everything in place.
Okay.
If that web gets tight or restricted,
Yeah.
it can affect the nerves running through it.
So if that web gets tight or restricted, it can affect the nerves running through it.
Exactly. Myofascial therapy uses gentle, sustained pressure to release those restrictions, improve blood flow, and reduce pain.
Interesting. And what about acupuncture?
Yeah.
The source material mentions that as a potential way to help with nerve pain. I've always been a little scared of needles, so I'm curious how that actually works.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
But acupuncture needles are incredibly thin.
Okay.
And most people describe this sensation as just a mild tingling or pressure.
Hmm.
The idea is that acupuncture helps restore the flow of energy or qi throughout the body.
Okay.
And while Western medicine doesn't fully understand how it works, there's evidence that acupuncture can reduce pain, improve nerve function, and promote healing.
That's pretty wild.
It is.
It's amazing how many different approaches there are to address nerve health and pain.
Yeah, there are so many.
What about this thing called neurofeedback? Is that something people are actually using to manage pain?
Neurofeedback is pretty cutting edge, basically.
Mhm.
It uses brainwave monitoring to help you learn to control your own brain activity.
Wait, so it's like biofeedback, but for your brain? You're telling me I can train my brain to manage pain? How does that even work?
It sounds like science fiction, right?
Yeah, it did.
But it's real.
Okay.
Sensors are placed on your scalp to measure your brain waves, and that information is displayed on a screen, often in the form of a game or a visual feedback. And by learning to control their brain activity, people can potentially influence their pain, perception, reduce stress, and even improve their cognitive function.
That's incredible. Is this readily available?
It's becoming more widely available, but it's not as common as some other therapies.
Okay.
It's definitely something to look into if you're interested in a non-invasive way to manage pain and improve brain function.
And then there's stem cell therapy, which your research mentions as a possible game changer for regenerating damaged nerves.
Right.
Is that something that's being used right now to treat nerve pain?
Stem cell therapy is this rapidly evolving field with incredible potential,
Yeah.
but it's still largely in the research phase for nerve damage.
Okay.
But it's definitely an exciting area to keep an eye on.
It seems like there are so many different avenues to explore when it comes to supporting nerve health and managing pain.
There are.
It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
You're absolutely right. It's about finding what works best for each individual, and that often involves a combination of therapies and lifestyle changes.
Speaking of lifestyle, the research you sent in goes deep on different supplements that can support nerve health.
Yeah.
There's so much information there that it's hard to know where to start.
Right.
What are some of the key takeaways?
Well, it's important to understand what each supplement does and why it might be beneficial. For example, B vitamins, especially B12, are essential for myelin production and healthy nerve function.
So if my myelin is damaged, would taking B12 help repair it?
It's possible, but it's not quite that simple. B12 is a key nutrient for maintaining healthy myelin, but it's not a magic bullet.
What about alpha lipoic acid?
Uh-huh.
I've heard that's good for nerve health. What's the deal with that one?
Alpha lipoic acid is a powerhouse antioxidant that protects nerves from damage and may even help them regenerate. It's especially helpful for conditions like diabetic neuropathy, where high blood sugar levels damage the nerves.
And then there's MCT oil, or sometimes called TCM.
Right.
I know that's popular for keto diets.
Yeah.
But what does that have to do with nerve health?
Well, MCT oil, or medium-chain triglycerides, can provide an alternative energy source for the brain.
Okay.
And one of the key things about MCT oil is that it can be helpful for reducing inflammation throughout the body, including in the nervous system.
It seems like a lot of these supplements have anti-inflammatory properties. Is that a coincidence?
Not at all. Inflammation is a major contributor to nerve damage and pain. That's why omega-3 fatty acids, which are known for their anti-inflammatory effects, are also recommended for nerve health. They're also vital for cell membrane health, which is important for nerve function.
Wow, this is really making me think about my diet.
Yeah.
It sounds like what I eat can directly impact the health of my nerves.
Food can be medicine, and choosing foods rich in those anti-inflammatory nutrients is crucial for overall health, including nerve health.
What about magnesium? Why is that one included in the research?
Magnesium plays a critical role in nerve signal transmission and muscle relaxation. It can help reduce muscle cramps and spasms, which are often associated with nerve problems.
And finally, there's CoQ10. The research mentions that one, but I'm not sure why it's important for nerves.
Coenzyme Q10, or CoQ10, is all about energy production. It supports mitochondrial function, and those are like the powerhouses of our cells.
Right, the mitochondria.
Exactly.
They generate energy for the cell.
Exactly. And nerve cells are constantly firing signals, which requires a lot of energy. CoQ10 helps those mitochondria produce the energy that nerves need to function at their best.
Okay, this is a lot to take in. I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed with all these supplements.
It is definitely a lot, and there's a reason the research includes this warning.
What's that?
Don't just start taking every supplement.
Okay.
It's important to understand how these supplements interact and to get personalized guidance from a healthcare professional.
That's a good reminder. It's not about self-prescribing. It's about understanding what your body needs and finding the right approach with the help of a professional.
Exactly. It's about working with your healthcare team to create a plan that addresses your individual needs and goals.
This entire deep dive is making me realize just how interconnected everything in the body is.
Yeah.
Even the research mentions this fascinating connection between the gut and the brain. That's got to be one of the most surprising things I've learned.
Yeah. The gut-brain connection is a hot topic in research right now.
Please?
And it's revealing how much our gut health influences our brain health and vice versa.
You know, I've heard of the gut microbiome, but how does that actually relate to nerve health and pain? It's hard to imagine those things being connected.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
You've got trillions of bacteria living in your gut,
Right?
and they play a huge role in your overall health, and that includes the health of your nervous system.
The research highlights the role of something called butyrate, which is a fatty acid produced by those good bacteria in our gut.
Yes, butyrate. It's like a messenger from your gut to your brain, helping to reduce inflammation and support healthy nerve function.
Hold on. Are you saying that if my gut isn't healthy, it could actually be contributing to nerve pain?
It's definitely possible when your gut microbiome is out of balance.
Yeah.
It can lead to increased inflammation throughout the body, and that includes the nervous system.
Wow. I'm starting to rethink my entire approach to health.
Yeah.
It's not just about treating symptoms. It's about looking at the whole picture and addressing the underlying causes.
Yes, exactly. That's one of the most valuable takeaways from this whole deep dive. Everything is connected, and understanding those connections is essential for optimizing your health and well-being.
Huh. Okay. I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
You've unpacked a ton of information about the nervous system.
Right.
And I'm already starting to see how much more there is to learn.
There's so much more.
So what happens when those signals from the body actually reach the brain?
Yeah.
How does that all work? And what's the difference between acute and chronic pain?
Great questions. Let's dive into those next.
All right, so we've talked about how the brain is involved in interpreting pain signals, but how do those signals actually get from my body to my brain in the first place?
Yeah, it's like a complex electrical circuit.
Okay.
Nerves use a combination of electrical and chemical signals to communicate with each other and with the brain.
Okay, walk me through it. Let's say I stub my toe. What happens then?
Okay, well, those nociceptors, we talked about the pain
Right.
receptors, they're the first responders. They send out a signal that travels along a sensory nerve all the way to your spinal cord.
Okay, so the signal goes from my toe to my spinal cord. What happens in the spinal cord? Does it just pass the message along to the brain?
The spinal cord is like a relay station,
Okay.
but it's not just a passive messenger. It can actually modify the signal, either amplifying it or dampening it down.
Wait, so my spinal cord can actually influence how much pain I feel.
Exactly.
Oh, right.
That's why some medications and therapies target the spinal cord to help manage pain.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So the signal gets modified in the spinal cord, and then what does it go straight to the brain?
The signal travels up the spinal cord and eventually reaches the thalamus, which is located in the brain.
Okay.
The thalamus is like the switchboard operator. It directs the incoming pain signal to different areas of the brain for processing.
So the thalamus decides where the pain message needs to go in the brain.
You could say that it routes the signal to areas involved in sensory perception, emotional response, and even memory.
So that's why a simple stubbed toe can sometimes trigger a flood of emotions or bring back memories of past injuries. It's not just about the physical sensation.
Precisely. Pain is this multifaceted experience that involves so much more than just the physical sensation. It's intertwined with our emotions, our memories, and our overall sense of well-being.
This is all starting to make sense now. The source material also mentions something called central sensitization. What is that, and how does it fit into all of this?
Central sensitization is basically a heightened sensitivity to pain. It's like the volume control on pain has been turned up.
So things that wouldn't normally bother me start to hurt. That doesn't sound fun.
It's not, imagine your nervous system is like a security alarm.
Oh, yeah.
With central sensitization, that alarm gets super sensitive. It starts going off for minor things like a gentle breeze or even a feather. Suddenly, everyday sensations become painful.
Ouch. I get it. That sounds really challenging to live with what causes central sensitization to happen in the first place.
It can happen after an injury or a period of chronic pain. But the research you sent in also highlights something really important. Chronic stress can actually contribute to central sensitization.
So stress isn't just bad for my mental health. It can actually make me physically more sensitive to pain.
Absolutely. When you're under chronic stress, your body releases hormones like cortisol and adrenaline.
Right.
And those hormones can actually make your nervous system more sensitive to pain signals.
This deep dive is really driving home the point that everything is connected. We started by talking about the nervous system,
Right.
but we've touched on inflammation, gut health, stress, and now even the emotional aspects of pain. It's like a giant web.
It really is. And understanding those connections is key to finding effective solutions for pain and optimizing overall health. We can't just treat the symptoms in isolation. We need to look at the bigger picture.
Oh, okay. I think I'm starting to wrap my head around how pain works, at least on a basic level. But can we talk about the difference between acute pain and chronic pain? I know those are both mentioned in the research, but I'm not sure I understand the distinction.
It's an important distinction.
Yeah.
Acute pain is usually a short-term response to an injury or an illness. It's a protective mechanism that alerts you to danger and encourages you to seek treatment.
So like when I stub my toe or cut my finger, that's acute pain. It hurts for a little while and then it goes away as the injury heals.
Exactly.
Okay.
Chronic pain, on the other hand, persists for weeks, months, or even years.
So it's pain that outlasts the healing process. What keeps that kind of pain going?
There are many factors involved, and it can be really complex.
I bet.
But essentially, chronic pain becomes a condition in itself. It's not just a symptom anymore, it's the problem. And that can have a huge impact on a person's quality of life.
I see. The research you sent actually talks about how chronic pain can turn into this vicious cycle of pain, fear, and avoidance.
Right.
It sounds like a really difficult situation to get out of.
It can be chronic pain often leads to fear of movement and avoidance of activities, which in turn can lead to muscle weakness, decreased flexibility, and even more pain. It's a downward spiral that can be really tough to break free from.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what can someone do if they're struggling with chronic pain? We've talked about some alternative therapies like myofascial therapy and acupuncture.
Right.
What about more conventional medical approaches to pain management?
There are a lot of options, and it really depends on the individual and the nature of their pain.
Okay.
There are medications, physical therapy injections, and even surgery in some cases.
The research you sent mentions medications like NSAIDs, opioids, and even antidepressants being used for pain.
It is, and each type of medication works in a different way and has its own potential side effects.
Right.
NSAIDs, which stands for nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, work by reducing inflammation.
Okay.
Opioids block pain signals in the brain, and antidepressants, while primarily used for mood disorders, can also be helpful for certain types of chronic pain.
It sounds like there's no easy answer when it comes to pain management.
Yeah.
It's about finding the right combination of approaches that works for each individual.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's a personalized journey, and it often involves trial and error to find what provides the most relief with the fewest side effects.
It's overwhelming to think about, but at least it's reassuring to know there are options out there.
There are.
This whole deep dive has really opened my eyes to the complexity of pain,
Yeah.
and it's made me realize how important it is to listen to my body and seek help when I need it.
Absolutely. There's a lot you can do on your own to support your nervous system.
You're right, we've talked about supplements and therapies, but what about lifestyle changes? Are there things I can do every day to prevent nerve problems in the first place?
Yeah.
Or to manage pain if it does pop up?
Absolutely. Lifestyle plays a huge role in nerve health.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's start with diet. There are certain foods that are particularly beneficial for your nerves.
Okay, I'm all ears. What should I be loading up on?
Foods that are rich in B vitamins, antioxidants, and healthy fats are your nervous system's best friends. Think leafy green vegetables, berries, nuts, and seeds.
Okay, so those are all things I already know are good for me in general. Anything else I should be adding to my grocery list?
Don't forget about fatty fish, salmon, tuna, mackerel. They're packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which are anti-inflammatory and essential for cell membrane health.
Okay.
And speaking of anti-inflammatory foods, have you heard about the benefits of turmeric?
Yes. I've heard it's a powerful anti-inflammatory. What makes it so special?
Turmeric contains a compound called curcumin, which has been shown to have anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective properties. It's definitely worth adding to your diet.
This is great information. I'm already planning my next grocery haul. What about exercise? I know it's good for overall health, but is it specifically good for my nerves?
Absolutely, exercise is crucial for nerve health.
Really?
It improves blood flow, reduces inflammation, and helps you maintain a healthy weight, which takes stress off your nerves.
So getting regular physical activity can actually protect my nerves.
Yes, and it can also help manage pain. Even gentle exercises like walking, swimming, or yoga can make a big difference.
I'm definitely motivated to get moving. Now, the research you sink in also emphasizes the importance of sleep. How does sleep affect my nerves?
Think of sleep as the ultimate recharge for your body and your mind.
Okay.
It's when your body repairs and regenerates, and that includes your nerves. When you don't get enough sleep, your body produces more stress hormones, which, as we've talked about, can increase inflammation and make you more sensitive to pain.
So prioritizing sleep is key for both my physical and mental health.
Exactly. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep each night to keep your nervous system happy and healthy, and don't forget about stress management.
Right.
We already talked about how chronic stress can wreak havoc on your nervous system.
Right. It's like stress is the enemy of a healthy nervous system. What are some effective ways to manage stress?
There's no one-size-fits-all answer. It's about finding what works for you. Some people find relief through mindfulness practices like meditation or yoga. Others prefer spending time in nature, listening to music, or pursuing creative hobbies.
It sounds like it's about finding healthy coping mechanisms that help us regulate our stress response.
Yeah.
We all experience stress, but it's about learning to manage it so it doesn't control us.
You got it, and that's the key.
Right.
We can't always eliminate stress from our lives, but we can equip ourselves with tools to manage it.
This deep dive is really highlighting the importance of taking a proactive approach to nerve health.
Yeah.
It's not about waiting for something to go wrong. It's about making choices every day that support our nervous system.
I couldn't agree more. It's empowering to know that we have so much control over our own health and well-being.
This has been a whirlwind of information about the nervous system.
Yes.
From the intricacies of nerve signaling to the impact of our daily choices, it's incredible how much we've covered.
It really is, and we've only just begun to scratch the surface. There's so much more to discover about this incredible system that orchestrates everything we do.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your perspective on what stands out as the most promising or intriguing area for future research in this field.
That's a great question. There's a lot of exciting research happening right now, but one area that particularly fascinates me is the role of the gut microbiome in nerve health and pain. We're only just beginning to understand how intricately these two systems are connected.
The gut microbiome seems to be popping up everywhere these days. But why is it so important for the nervous system?
The trillions of bacteria that live in our gut play a much bigger role in our health than we ever realized.
Right.
They influence everything from our digestion and immunity to our mood and even our pain perception.
The research you sent in mentions a study where researchers were able to reduce pain in mice with diabetic neuropathy by transplanting fecal matter from healthy mice. That sounds pretty wild.
That does sound wild, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's a powerful example of how manipulating the gut microbiome can have a real impact on nerve health. We're still in the early stages of research, but I believe that understanding and manipulating the gut microbiome holds immense promise for treating a wide range of neurological conditions.
That's incredibly exciting. It's almost like we're on the cusp of a major paradigm shift in how we approach health and healing.
I think you're right, and it's a shift that empowers individuals to take an active role in their own well-being.
Yeah.
We're not just passive recipients of treatment. We can actively shape our health through our lifestyle choices, including what we eat and how we care for our gut microbiome.
This deep dive has certainly empowered me to take a closer look at my own lifestyle choices and explore all the options available for supporting my nervous system.
That's fantastic to hear. And remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about your body, the better equipped you are to make informed decisions about your health. Speaking of knowledge, are you ready to debunk some common myths about the nervous system? I think you'll find this next part particularly interesting.
All right, you got me intrigued. What are some of those common misconceptions about the nervous system that you hear people say that make you cringe? All right, you've got me intrigued. What are some of those common misconceptions about the nervous system that you hear people say that make you cringe?
Oh, where do I even begin?
Yeah.
There are so many, but one of the biggest ones is that nerve damage is always irreversible.
Really? So there's hope for people who have experienced nerve damage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
While it's true that nerves don't regenerate as quickly as other tissues, they do have the capacity to repair and regenerate to some extent.
So that tingling or numbness I've been feeling in my foot doesn't necessarily mean the nerve is gone forever.
Not at all. There are many factors that influence nerve regeneration, including the type and severity of the damage, your overall health, and the treatments used.
That's so encouraging to hear. So even if someone has been told they have permanent nerve damage, it's still worth exploring options for promoting healing and regeneration.
Never give up hope. There's always something you can do to support your body's natural healing abilities.
That's a powerful message. What about another misconception?
Hmm.
I've heard people say that pain is all in your head, almost like it's not a real thing.
That one makes me cringe every time I hear it. It's a harmful myth that minimizes the very real suffering of people experiencing chronic pain, as we've discussed throughout this deep dive. Pain is a complex experience that involves both physical and psychological factors.
So it's not about someone choosing to feel pain or not.
Exactly. It's an involuntary response to a perceived threat. And telling someone with chronic pain that it's all in their head is not only insensitive, but it's also inaccurate.
Right. It's important to validate their experience and approach it with empathy and understanding.
Yeah.
What about the idea that as we age, nerve problems are just inevitable? Is that true? I'm starting to worry about getting older.
It's true that as we get older, there are age-related changes that can affect the nervous system,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean nerve problems are a guaranteed part of aging.
So there are things we can do to protect our nerves as we get older.
Absolutely. Many of the lifestyle factors we've already discussed, diet, exercise, sleep, stress management, they all play a crucial role in maintaining nerve health throughout our lifespan.
It's not about accepting decline. It's about taking proactive steps to age gracefully and maintain our vitality.
Exactly. Aging is a natural process,
Hmm.
but we have more control over how we age than we might think by making choices that support our overall health and well-being, including the health of our nervous system. We can truly thrive at every stage of life.
This deep dive has completely changed my perspective on the nervous system. I used to think of it as this fixed and unchanging system, but now I see it as this dynamic and adaptable network that's constantly responding to our environment and our lifestyle choices.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Your nervous system is incredibly resilient and adaptable, and by understanding how to support its health, you can unlock your body's incredible capacity for healing and regeneration.
We've talked about so many different approaches to supporting nerve health,
Right.
but if you can emphasize just one thing, what would it be?
That's a tough one. There's so many important pieces to the puzzle,
Yeah.
but if I had to choose just one, it would be stress management.
Okay.
Chronic stress has a profound impact on the entire body, and the nervous system is no exception. Learning to regulate your stress response is one of the most powerful things you can do to protect your nerves and promote overall health and well-being.
That's a great takeaway message. It's a reminder that true health and healing start from within.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a sense of inner peace and resilience that allows your nervous system to thrive.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired to take better care of my nervous system. This whole conversation has been eye-opening.
Me too, and I hope our listeners are feeling inspired as well.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. It's been an enlightening and empowering journey through the fascinating world of nerves.
It's been my pleasure, and remember, your nervous system is your most precious asset. Treat it with kindness, and it will reward you with a lifetime of health and vitality.
We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of the nervous system. We've covered a lot of ground today, but remember, we've only just scratched the surface. We encourage you to continue exploring this amazing and complex system that makes you you. Until next time, be well and take care of your nerves.